Hello YouTube and welcome to episodes 3 and 4 in the Nekomonogatari Kuro reaction series, that being a larger part of the Monogatari reaction series. Big apologies for skipping last week. I got called away out of town for work. It was one of the first times it's ever happened, which was fun. But it went a little bit longer than I thought and I couldn't plan around it, and I apologize for missing the week. Just in general with the schedule lately, it's been not ideal, and I really am sorry. I like to keep a schedule because when I'm watching stuff like this on my own time, I expect the video out, and when it's not out, it's disappointing, right? And it's nice. I've had a couple people message me like, "Hey, where's the video?" And I'm like, "Sorry, this is the reason why." But yeah, it's also been quite nice having people actually want to see the videos. It's good. Having said all that, let's just jump into the comments from not last week, but a couple weeks ago, and see what you guys had to say about episodes 1 and 2. The first comment here is from Gian Bueno. Time for us to finally see in detail the events that were teased to us back in Bake. Not much to talk about this episode specifically, but there's one scene that's weird to understand in the anime. When Araragi met Hanekawa on his way to school, she had a straight face and he noticed the gauze. But as soon as she realized he was there, she tried to brush it off and greeted him very energetically like normal, expecting he wouldn't think the wound was a big deal. It didn't work and he continued on staring at her bandage. Now that her plan of pretending nothing happened didn't work, he started to lose face and feel flustered. Well, she started to lose face and feel flustered, excuse me. But Araragi was quick on catching on to that and promptly flipped her skirt so her attention would be averted to other things and she wouldn't get sad. Hanekawa, being Hanekawa and knowing Araragi's nature, understood what he was trying to do. That's why she says he is very kind, for being considerate friend that didn't want to hurt her by asking about the things she was trying to conceal, and he ignored it until their conversation kind of deviated in that direction. Also, the abnormal wings or mismatched pair of wings for Hanekawa is about her name. Both the Hane kanji and the Tsubasa kanji mean wing, just different types. One is for feathers and birds, and the other one includes bugs and such. Baby Shinobu from Bake and Neko Kuro always sitting by herself in a corner is just too cute XD. The Tsubasa thing's funny because it comes back to Symphogear. I actually kind of knew that already, which I kind of didn't think about that at all, which is weird. Two characters share the name Tsubasa there, which is yeah. And again, we could talk about this wing thing as it pertains to Hanekawa. You know, two different sides of Hanekawa, mismatched, black and white. Kind of the meddlesome cat and normal Hanekawa. Lots of different stuff we can talk. She's very contradictory, and that's what makes a good character. I've heard before that if you want to make an interesting character, just give them a contradiction. It works basically every single time. Let's take something that I just watched this morning, actually, Bocce the Rock. I guess mild spoilers for Bocce the Rock. Bocce is a social introvert who's very bad at talking to people, but also shreds on the guitar. It's literally just like one contradiction, and it makes an interesting character that I want to see more of. It's not hard. It's not hard to write interesting characters, I swear, guys. I think another comment goes into these set of events as well, so I might skip that later. But yeah, I now understand that skirt flipping scene a little bit better. It's actually kind of a bit more nuanced than I probably gave it credit for. Again, last week I was probably tired, or 2 weeks ago, I should say. Anyway, thank you for the comment. The next comment here by Saint You, or Saint Yor, I don't know how to say it. Another way to look at the value of a fake argument is talent. An athlete who is naturally talented is the real deal. On the other hand, the athlete that wasn't originally gifted is the fake. If the less talented person can reach the same level as the talented person, we as a society value that a lot. The same goes with wealth. We value self-made millionaires more than someone who was already born rich. It's the classic underdog story. But our social values are not consistent. For example, we still seem to value things like natural beauty a lot. And then he continues in a reply here. The first episode definitely meanders like the beginning of Nisei does, but it sets up the framing for the arc. As for the faces, whether or not it worked, I think they were warped purposefully to make the shots uncanny, like how it used the poses to make the scene more theatrical and meta. I'm not sure it was a production issue. The directing/storyboarding is definitely different though. Itamura's style, Nisei onward, is unique from Oishi's in Bake and Kizu. I probably should dive a little bit more into the production stuff. That would be interesting as we kind of move along, and any kind of comments regarding that would be interesting. Yeah, I definitely I don't even know what they were going for with uncanny faces in the scene in which Araragi and Tsukihi are talking about love. Like, I don't know why you would do that. Unless it's kind of Araragi's perception of love being kind of warped and the concept coming off as kind of unputting or Is unputting a word? Off-putting. That's it. Kind of off-putting to him. You know what I mean? This whole value of a fake thing, effort versus talent, blah 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 blah. You're right how there's double standards and stuff, but I don't even know what like effortful beauty would look like. I guess a lot of like attention to your skin and that kind of thing, and blah 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 blah. I don't know. I'm not into the whole beauty thing, obviously. So I don't really know if natural beauty is a thing. Are people just naturally attractive and don't try at all, or do they have to try to keep it up? I don't know. I'd imagine it's always a combination of the two. Either way, interesting comment there. Next comment here is Fluxio. He's suggesting Kubikiri Cycle, which will definitely be on a poll in the future, I would imagine. Probably Chainsaw Man, that's the next thing that's going to end. So it'll definitely be on a poll there. I've heard from a number of different people that this is something that I should watch. So, hey, chuck it on a poll. It's only 8 episodes, 30-minute OVAs. Next comment here from Simon. Was Tsukihi right, or she just messed up Araragi's thoughts? Good question. Just imagine her saying, oi man, yeah, it's love, just go out and ask her. But I think what she said was also pretty poignant as well, so I'd rather her say that than this. Anyway, I always think Araragi probably had his own reservations about everything anyway. He was just kind of, getting a second opinion. Expectations, expectations. You are the only one who observes Shinobu Araragi, and in the end, she became who you were thinking she is. Now you are observing Hanekawa. Avoid her, fear her, think of her as the purest angel, and she will be one of the strongest monsters. Now it gets serious. Just imagine what would happen with the show if there was no funny scenes, even once in a while. Horror. I think he's talking to the balance of the show there. I just thought it was something that I'd seen before, kind of the last 2 episodes we saw. I'm like, I just kept going, yeah, I know this. I've seen this. I'm imagining we're going to extrapolate a little bit more in the next 2 episodes into actually what happens and the character dynamics there. And I've got a few predictions with regards to that. But yeah, I know it was just a bit samey, and the directorial style didn't really grab me. So shoot me, I guess. I don't know. It was okay. Still better than most stuff. Next comment here by Dharma Mancia. Yes, the reason why you'd need to take notes of dates and names is because in the future, the timelines can become quite confusing if you don't remember the chronological order of the events. Like, is this after name arc or before name arc? Question mark. Yeah, I'm keeping an eye on it. I'm not going to ask you guys much when it takes place in the timeline because that might be spoilery and that kind of thing. I'm pretty sure I'll pick it up pretty quickly. There's pretty linear points in which things happen. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, but I don't think that this should be that difficult. I think I'm paying attention enough. But I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. Next comment here by Tack Derek. One thing I like about Araragi is that there are times when Araragi acts, speaks in a perverted way, but his intentions, actions afterwards are often serious. Of course, there are times when he's just actually perverted. I think here he goes into the skirt flipping scene again, and I'll probably just skip that part. But he has other examples as well. In Tsukihi Phoenix, Araragi was asked if he could love his sister even more if he knew she was a fake, and Araragi would replied that he would love his sister even more because it was hot to have a sister who isn't a real sister. Despite what he says, we know the real reason. Yeah, it's like a clever line, It's a kind of a double entendre in a way, right? He's using his own perverted language slash intentions maybe to show his real intention, which is, hey, I love my family. And I think it's humorous as well, so that goes a long way with me. I do like funny. Yeah, this kind of third paragraph, he goes into the skirt flipping scene as well as another example from kind of Mayoi Snail, which I thought was quite interesting. Another scene, after hearing Hanekawa would do anything for Araragi, he once again turned into a pervert, took her to a nearby bush to lick her face. In the end, Araragi only used the blood from his finger to heal the wound on her face. In this case too, Araragi's true intention was not to be perverted. He knew that Hanekawa would reject him if he spoke directly, so he pretended not to care about Hanekawa's family problem and only wanted to satisfy his own desires, while in reality he only wanted to heal the wound. This one's a bit of a stretch. I think he actually wanted to lick her face and then chickened out a little bit. Anyway, it's up for interpretation, which is the important part there, I guess. However, although Araragi's intentions are good in real life, Araragi's perverted behavior is not to be recommended considering the family issues the other party is facing. Many people criticize Araragi's behavior in this episode, yet this episode highlights the unique character of Hanekawa, even when Araragi does something so perverted and unforgivable that Araragi himself also believed that will make Hanekawa hate him. She also ended up forgiving him. Hanekawa's saintly perfection scared Araragi. This also partly explains why Araragi could not notice Hanekawa's feelings for him in Bake. He felt Hanekawa was too perfect to love him and that he was not good enough for her. Yeah, we're talking a little bit more to his own self-image issues and insecurities. Yes, we've been through Kizu for sure. Next comment here by Kramer. Imagine if you were watching it chronologically, Tsukihi would freak you out. Like, yeah, that scene would be kind of out of place where she like stabs him with the knife right at the beginning. Yeah, it would be like, oh my god, she's like evil immortal or something. It'd be weird. I think you're not appreciating the smooth transitions in the opening. They're cool. I don't know. I think there's better openings in the show. I love the shot being shown in this. Reminds me of Bake, but even crazier. This arc has the same production budget like Bake. They make faces looks ugly, weird angle on purpose in this arc. We will see more of it. Good. I mean, I like this kind of almost experimental style where we're purposefully like changing the human form and it's all about perspective and all these kind of things. I think that's interesting. We need to place it in the correct scenes for it to be interesting for me. Araragi skirt flipping, yes. The people closest to us cause us the most pain. The closer you draw to someone, the more you'll hurt yourself, the more you'll hurt them. The idea of family, people who are born near you, was the monster to Hanekawa, the thing that caused her to gain stress, and the reason she drew the Sawari Neko so close into herself when it granted her wish. Yeah, Hanekawa's got a lot of stuff going on. If Kizu was Araragi learning to connect to people again, Neko Kuro is him learning that sometimes those connections hurt and eventually the pain will heal. There is nothing Araragi can do to save Hanekawa. That's not a good omen. I hope there is. I mean, I don't know if Hanekawa needs to be saved. I think that she can handle that herself eventually. We'll see. Personally, Nekokuro was my least favorite part because the development happened in Bake, so what changed? But it goes into why Araragi and Hanekawa were never meant to be. I think it also shows us how deeply Shinobu was wounded by Araragi. We've seen her in all her glory as Kiss Shot and fell in love with her sassy persona as Oshino Shinobu, but now we get to see how broken she was in between. Shinobu was being silent in Bake never affected us since we didn't know how energetic she was normally. I actually think that this is really fun. This is some great, like, it reinterprets what we thought about Bake. You know what I mean? So, originally in Bake, I mean, I recognize the design because I'd just seen her around, but I was like, so what's her deal? Okay, let's just forget about her. And when she comes back in the end of Tsubasa Cat, it's like, oh yeah, that's cool. That's actually really interesting. And then we get all the context later, and then it becomes really interesting, and it becomes kind of this Hanekawa, Shinobu, Araragi thing going on, which I think is one of the strongest kind of trios of the show. I think those are probably my three favorite characters, if I have to be honest. And then, yeah, he says at time code battery running out is his consciousness. I think I literally said this, so thank you. Next comment here by Benjamin Lee. Hanekawa, the girl with abnormal wings, or the girl with a pair of mismatched wings, as I've seen in some translations, refers to her name kanji, where her given name is Tsubasa means wings, and the Hane part of her surname also means wings, but usually insect wings. Also, a girl with wings is usually the imagery of an angel, which is how Araragi sees Hanekawa. Again, yes, talks to this dichotomy between the two sides. Perhaps she's not the angel that Araragi thinks that she is all the time. And the last comment here by Hot Wheels Kid. Neko Kuro is another entry that doesn't seem to be super popular with the community, but I really love it. In the books, it takes him about 80 pages just to leave his house, which is something that's referenced multiple times later in the novels. I really enjoy the raw banter scenes. I think this arc does a great job really solidifying Araragi and Hanekawa's relationship. I like the idea that Araragi is writing off what are likely genuine feelings for Hanekawa as lust. Really interesting when you think about how Hanekawa also makes excuses for her feelings for Araragi in Bake when she was going on about the vampire charisma. I also think this arc does a really great job of recontextualizing Araragi's personal character arc over Bake, which had a larger focus on the people he was helping instead. Overall, great stuff. I really like that idea about both kind of Hanekawa and Araragi making excuses for why they like each other. Well, anyway, we know how that tale ends, but at this point in the story, yeah, I do think they like each other for sure. The vampire charisma part in particular, that's really recontextualized now and really interesting. Again, we're going to have to save judgment for the arc as a whole for, when we finish today. But it's fine. It's okay. Again, we're going to see how it ends up here today. I'm just going to do a recap off the top of my head instead of writing something down because I don't think a lot happened last couple episodes, so I think I should be able to recap it kind of plot-wise pretty easily. We kind of started with the Araragi Tsukihi conversation about love, and then that led into kind of talking about Araragi's sexual frustration. Then he goes to buy porn book, and then he runs into Hanekawa and they do the whole skirt flipping thing. Then they get to talking about the kind of stuff we saw during the flashbacks during Tsubasa Cat earlier, about the family abuse and Hanekawa's family situation and how that all impacts everything and kind of melds together. We get to the part where Araragi flips the horny switch, and we've had some discussions about if this is real or fake and blah 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 blah. Either way, he heals the wound on her face, and we don't see it in this scene in particular, but they also find the dead cat at this point, the silver cat, which Hanekawa buries and subsequently gets the oddity inside of her. Then Araragi goes to the cram school, runs into Oshino Shinobu, and Shinobu is like really mad, but there's also donuts, so Shinobu wants the donuts, and is generally just pretty cute, which is good. Oshino Meme's there, which is always fun. He kind of leads into this conversation about the cat in general, also talks a little bit about perspective on Shinobu and how she, like, kind of Araragi perceives her as an 8-year-old girl, therefore she is 8-year-old girl, and his perception's really important. Anyway, this kind of meddlesome cat or metal cat may be on the loose, and Araragi needs to kind of help with that, needs to go check on Hanekawa because he says some sus things related to Hanekawa, and that kind of ticks off something in Oshino Meme's head. Kind of walks it around, sees Hanekawa dragging 2 corpses. These are her kind of parents, and I say corpses, but they're not dead, they're just like, I don't know, limp bodies. This then leads to the cat turning on Araragi after he says a certain line, really pisses her off, takes off one of his arms, and yeah, it kind of runs away into the night. Araragi loses a lot of blood in the process and almost dies, which isn't something that I was cognizant of in the moment. And then Oshino Meme's like, hey, you shouldn't get involved in this one. This is too dangerous for you. You should leave. And it also seems like maybe Oshino Meme's testing Araragi. I think that's what we're getting at here. Like, hey, you can leave. This isn't for you. But is that in Araragi's nature? I don't think so. And that'll kind of lead into the predictions here. I think the events are going to play out very similarly to the ones we kind of saw in the Tsubasa Cat flashback to this point in time, if that makes any sense. There'll be some key differences as it pertains to emotional impact. Going into that, I expect a more in-depth flashback into Hanekawa's personal situation, maybe in a little bit of graphic detail, which is going to be a bit intense. The resolution will be kind of an anti-resolution, as Golden Week is, because that is continued on in Tsubasa Cat, which is also an anti-resolution. So Hanekawa's still, like, not great. I really hope we get some kind of closure for Hanekawa at some point. I really hope that happens. Either way, Shinobu will be involved. Meme will be tangentially involved, I believe, just in knowing the events. And yeah, this whole test thing will play out, I think. Either way, just my show stuff before we jump into episode 3 of Nekomonogatari Kuro. If you like the video, consider liking the video. If you like the video and want to see more, consider subscribing to the channel. Comment below anything you thought about the episode, anything I can do to improve my presentation, comment below. I'm doing follow for follow on Twitter, so follow me on Twitter if you'd like me to follow you back. And the Discord, join the Discord. Another thing about the Discord, you will get the most up-to-date schedule on the Discord, because I try to put one in the description of most videos, but it is just flat wrong sometimes. So if you want to know when the video is actually coming out, Discord's the best place to know. Either way, time to jump into Nekomonogatari Kuro episode 3 right now. Rightio, got episode 3 of Nekomonogatari Kuro up here ready to go. Let me pop that up on screen. 26 minutes and 51 seconds, bit of a longer one today. And yeah, we're just going to jump right in. Gonna give it a 3, 2, 1. Oh yeah, Call Girls, subs, and link in the description for the picture-in-picture. And now we're going to jump in. Rightio? 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, dramatic zoom on something. Oh, her house. Oh. Well, is she back to her? Nope, she's still a cat. Hello. It's been a while since I watched Monogatari. This is nice. Because yeah, I've been watching, lots of other stuff outside of the channel, as well as Chainsaw Man and Symphogear. And yeah, just, Monogatari is very different. You got to get back into the kind of mind space. As I said last week, kind of this more smooth opening's really nice. Especially fits with Hanekawa's character as well. Like contrasted with kind of a Hachikuji's opening, which is just energy, 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 This might be a weird reference. It kind of reminds me of, how, okay, so you have Attack on Titan openings, right? And they're all energy, energy, energy. And then you run into that one opening that's really slow. Kind of reminds me of that. And I really liked that opening. So, worked for me, I guess. Yeah, cool. So what is, he went to her house. Oh yeah, this is directly after Oshinomeme said not to get involved. Right, okay. Yeah, it is. Did she not see him? That's a bit weird. Lots of cat hairpins? Oh yeah? How cool's that? How good was that? More of this, please. What did he see? That's some of the best stuff I've seen in the whole show, and that is not. That's Monogatari for you, isn't it? Interesting. That is kind of insane. Well, how are you going to help her? This animation. Okay. Yeah, I went to some girl's house. It was weird. Nah, that happened before though. How do you know that? Oh, because it's around town. Okay. They've really got their like finger on the pulse of the town. I guess they are the Justice Sisters. Or the Fire Sisters that love justice, I should say. Yeah, there we go. Don't hunt the cat. That's a fun shot, kind of the upside down one. What are the bubbles? Sleep in the same bed? Oh yeah, cool. Where did she become so weird? She used to be normal, I swear. Well, actually, no, that's a lie. But she used to be not like this. And this is the past, so it makes even less sense. Look at. Whatever. Okay. I just gotta keep moving. Yeah, kind of. It's just the way you are, Araragi. Like, I don't think you should, like, judge yourself for that so harshly. Yeah? Did he push them off or did they roll off? Interesting. Also, something associated with love. She would never miss school. I love how he opens the classroom and it's completely empty. Hello, Senja Gahara. Who beat you up so bad? The miracle bandage. The cat. Sawari Neko. I detect some cap. I don't think that you would struggle that much against her, but maybe I'm wrong. What do you mean? Yes. Oh, okay, I understand. Oh yeah, interesting shot. Yeah, Hanako was powerful. And because excuse me. And because it takes kind of Hanakawa's body
kind of gains proportionate power. I think that makes sense. Just lashing out? Or is it targeted? So does it just perpetually like possess her, or is it kind of a werewolf situation? I guess it's perpetual. Again, is that not what normally happens? It doesn't kind of steal a. Oh, this is clever. This is actually really clever. Kind of this mosaic making up the picture. Does it normally eliminate the host's like personality completely? Okay. Okay. Sure. What? Okay. It was just who he really was. It wasn't a possession. It just brought out what he really thought. Yeah. Kind of what I was talking about before. Yeah, like the story. Okay. Excuse me, what? Oh yeah, okay. Cool. Oh yeah. That made her appear. Oh, this is the shot from we kind of flashed on this shot back in the day. No, she caught you in 4K, you did it. What's a Nyaz? Okay. Yeah. Okay, it's kind of what I thought. Good. I thought I was wrong there for a second. And that's never happened before. Yeah. Okay, so she didn't know. This is great. The mirror. Yeah, I get what you're saying. 500 people or so? Oh, yeah. Aloha. Nah, but I still don't think you should attack like random people. Malicious. Who is the monster and who is the man? She did it out of obligation? Yeah, okay. Yeah, because that's what a normal girl would do. This is kind of talking to the effort thing again. Help her in what way? Wow. That one flash of her hair. Bye. One of many. Unless you change the root cause. Okay. Okay, bye. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. I found that last scene kind of frustrating. Like basically the whole thing. I I think it's an overcomplication. Complication. Wish I could speak. That'd be nice. Overcomplication of something that I already knew, if you know what I mean. So it's a bunch of different things converging, a bunch of different Hanekawa stuff, and a bunch of different Araragi stuff, forming who they are in the current point in the narrative in a way that I don't find particularly satisfying. I don't know. I guess I know the start point and I know the end point, and I just want to get there, and I don't really care about all this pontification about it. It's just not really appealing to me. But I could go through it again, and it could, open my eyes up to it. But yeah, just not really vibing with it at all. And yeah, the way it's shot, just constant shots of her body, basically. It's getting a little bit tiresome. Like, I get it, she's like a hot cat girl, but like, I don't know. But the first scene was cool, where he's like running away from the house. It was really well animated. Love the heavy breathing there. Thought it was great. And this song bangs, so it's good too. Is there post-credit stuff in these? I would imagine so. Tsubasa Family. Rightio, let's jump into a little bit of analysis on Nekomonogatari Kuro, episode 3. Yeah, so I've kind of just had to sit down and think about it a little bit more. And I guess what I don't like about the episode overall is it's just a little too navel gazy, right? Normally, Monogatari, we have, our philosophy stuff. Think about the end of Nisei Monogatari right there at the end in kind of Tsukihi Phoenix. We have that kind of philosophy stuff. We have that kind of human emotion, human connection stuff, where they kind of turn to the camera and say, hey, this is the philosophy of the show, what we're trying to get at, blah, 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 blah. But it's also kind of tied in with larger plot developments, right? I'm interested to see what happens next. I don't think that's here in the same way. I know what happens. I know that Shinobu's involved. I know that Oshinomeme makes it out okay. I know that both of these characters end in a spot where there's still character turmoil. And I guess the plot revelations are more towards Araragi's feelings towards Hanekawa in a bit more concrete detail. But again, it's not surprising to me. It just, again, seems like somebody did a couple of philosophy courses and just wanted to tell me about them, about human connection and how stress impacts certain things. And we have interesting ideas here, but interesting ideas I've talked about already. Again, this whole two sides of Hanekawa thing. Is the cat completely in control, or is Hanekawa completely in control? Is the monster actually the aberration, or is it just Hanekawa acting out on what she should have been acting out on all the time in the first place? And of course, we have character saying to Araragi again, hey, don't get involved, it's better for all of us. I know how this tale ends. Araragi's going to get involved. It's just who he is. And again, because I've seen the flashback in Tsubasa Cat, I know how it ends. It's just not, it doesn't have the same combo of the things that I kind of want in a Monogatari episode. You know what I mean? Which is the combination of these headier concepts with some actual plot movement and some better jokes and all these other things. It just felt a bit dry to me. I think dry is the main word. But the first scene's really good, and we get to watch that right now. So that's good. And just before I forget this point as well, okay. So normally in Monogatari episodes, and I've talked about this before, the sexual stuff comes with a point. You can make a larger kind of argument about why it's there, right? In this episode, it felt very, very, very pointless. Like very fan servicey, very like why are we looking at the cat, the meddlesome cat from behind while we're talking to her? Why is Tsukihi got no clothes on when he walks into the house here in a second? Why do they? I understand why they sleep with him. That's actually quite funny. But yeah, just like I don't know. I don't know, man. I didn't really like it. And I want to be honest with people about not liking things. I think that's another important part of the channel. That doesn't mean I'm tossing the show away or anything. Don't be stupid. It's really good. Just that I don't like certain portions of it, which I'm sure most people have their misgivings about some portions of Monogatari for sure. Unless you're like a super fan, I guess. Yeah, so I guess what this opening scene before the credits establishes is that, hey, Hanekawa's still the meddlesome cat, going out of the house, leaving a window open. And that's all we really need to know from that. Another thing weirdly I've really been missing is the larger text portions. I think that's where we could have gotten away with a lot of these similar things like the end of the episode where they're just kind of talking and I don't find it particularly interesting. We could have put that in a big text segment and then I could have read it here and it's like, hey, that's ancillary for the people that actually want to see that. And we leave the bit more plot relevant stuff for, I don't know, actual scenes. Maybe that wouldn't work, maybe it would, I don't know. I at least enjoy the text, at least a little bit. So it's unclear when we first see this scene what's actually wrong with the house. Looks fairly normal, you know? And then you look in and it's like, hey, there's like a bunch of bedrooms and not one is Hanekawa's. She hasn't planted her roots down here. She doesn't show any of her personality here. She's merely just a blank slate. It's in that she doesn't really trust her parents in that regard to, accept who she really is inside and blah, blah, all these other things, right? She can't outwardly exhibit personality because that would be in contrast to her trying to be a normal girl. I think that's what we're getting at. But yeah, there's a great amount of tension in this scene, and not for the reason you think. I originally thought it was, hey, we're going to sneak in while the metal cat's gone, and then the cat's going to come back, and then it's going to chase Araragi away and blah, 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 blah. I think that's what the author expects you to think is going to happen, but instead he gets scared by something else, something a lot more sinister. I love how we're demonstrating this here too. It's flash of like this kind of almost Dutch angle of Araragi and then the spotlight on him, and then we cut to the kind of cat hairpins falling from the sky. And it keeps you in suspense. It's really good until he explains what's actually going on. And then there's this stuff, which is like really awesome first person movement. Great voice acting by Araragi's VA. And yeah, just a really effective open to the episode. Really grabs your attention and gets you in. And then in contrast to the shot we showed before, we have Araragi facing a different direction than the meddlesome cat, still kind of in the same pose, jumping away. And yeah, this stuff's like just, yeah, character animation out the wazoo, like really impressive. Colors are great too, almost ghostly. And then yeah, just as I finish praising it, we get a huge shot of Tsukihi's like asshole, and I'm just not really into it. Like, I should be used to it by now, but come on, man. Just like one scene without it would be nice. And here's where he kind of explains it. There are at least 6 rooms there, but in that house, Hanekawa Tsubasa did not have a room. That household, that family, it's done for. You can't recover from this. Your situation is untenable. He really sees the hopelessness of the situation in, getting Hanekawa back to normal, per se. The same way that kind of Oshinomeme sees it as hopeless that he will ever defeat the actual meddlesome cat properly. You know what I mean? Like, this is completely hopeless. We need to stop doing this, right? And it's kind of contrasted in 2 different ways, both emotional and kind of physical in fighting. We're still doing this really exaggerated thing where the siblings yell at each other. It's cool, the animation like style difference, but I'm just like not really into the comedy. I don't find it particularly funny. And here's where they start to talk about, hey, there's actually this cat-like monster on the loose that, it's starting to spread around town, that it's attacking random people, and us as, heroes of justice and the Fire Sisters, we need to go and try and stop this. I think Araragi's voice acting is really good here, where he's kind of explaining why they shouldn't attack the cat in kind of general terms and using excuses to justify that. And the sisters are just like, yeah, okay, we'll sleep with you. It's fine. I think it's pretty funny. Nice little bit of manipulation there by Araragi. I think it's pretty good. And again, just while I'm thinking about it, I was thinking about this just while watching the episode again. We talk a lot about the same cat Hanekawa dynamics I've talked about before around stress and stress relief. A lot of people use cats for stress relief, give the cat a pat, gets rid of stress. Cats are very free. Cats do things on a whim. Even the kind of meddlesome cat talks about that at the end. I don't energy drain because I want to. It's not a power, it's a curse. It kind of just happens. It happens on a whim. This is the exact opposite of what Hanekawa does, who is acutely aware of everything that she is doing at any time. It's all a planned kind of act. Even to the point we'll break down the kind of gauze on the cheek scene, right? She does certain things at certain times based on human expectations of her. She's terrified of the unpredictability in that respect, right? Again, that's why the cat's the perfect counterpart there. So in that, she isn't premeditatively going around and attacking random people, it's just something that happens. I think that's a distinction that we need to make. I think this shot of Tsukihi's fun as well. I don't know, it's just kind of upside down. It's a little more cute than outwardly sexual, which is a nice change of pace. I wish we'd do more stuff like this. You know, Huge eyes, inquisitive, doesn't understand the kind of depth and kind of danger of the situation. Innocent. I like it. And I know what the bubbles are now. It's like bowls of spit from when he's kind of talking and spitting in Tsukihi's face as he's kind to explain why they shouldn't go after the cat. It's pretty gross, but also kind of clever. I kind of like that. We'll talk about the giant, like, close up, almost fisheye lens shots. It's almost like Danny DeVito directed this or something. Looks like fucking Matilda. Yeah, it's just kind of disgusting to look at, and I don't understand why. You know what I mean? I don't know, man. Somebody could probably justify it, but I just think it's out of place and weird. Here, Araragi says, if you see kind of the fantasy that you made for yourself shattered like that, maybe it's best that you never kind of knew from the start. You never got yourself involved. So I had this ideal of Hanekawa, and when I saw that be shattered, when I saw the other side, I didn't know what to do. I feel the way I feel right now, which is, demonstrated on screen. Bit forlorn. Maybe it's better I never knew her from the start. That's a very sad thought, isn't it? That's very sad. But that's just not who Araragi is. He's like, maybe I should have ignored the gauze. It's not going to happen. The same way you're not going to allow characters like Oshinomeme and the Meddlesome Cat to tell you not to get involved. You're going to get involved because that's who you are. Is it having my cake and eating it too? Is only knowing this one side of Hanekawa, this perfect side from the outside looking in, is this sustainable? Is this something that you can actually do, keeping an arm's length from somebody, not knowing all their baggage, while still being closely associated with them, despite all the help she gave you during spring break? It's an interesting dilemma to be sure, and again, we know how it ends, right? Or at least somewhat. I think there's going to be more Hanekawa stuff kind of after present day, like into the future of the show. But for right now, it doesn't feel conclusive at all. I don't know, unless there's some random stuff that happens next episode that I'm not really aware of. So it all just feels a little bit like spinning tires, I don't know. I think I'll end up talking a lot about it later in the end of the episode. So let's cool my jets for now. I think these shots are fun. So again, this is a fully populated classroom that he's walking into. We just don't register them as characters because they're not relevant to the story. Again, I think that's how we're perceiving these scenes. It isn't a completely empty school, of course. Interestingly enough, we get some shots of Senjogahara here. Again, I think this is just a little bit of fan service, that kind of thing. But it's interesting that she can be perceived right now as well. There she is. Hello, Senjogahara. It's been a while since I've seen you. It's literally been like months. But hello. I hope we can talk again soon. Goodbye. I used the miracle bandage on you the other day. Is there some kind of bandage that heals all wounds that was used? It's interesting. Use that on Araragi rather than keep it for himself. Good job, Oshino. But yeah, Oshino's been fighting the Meddlesome Cat a lot, and he looks really injured and worn down. And again, in my head, I'm like, didn't you say the Meddlesome Cat was really easy? And they go into the conversation, right? Because Hanekawa is who she is, the Meddlesome Cat's stronger. It's on top of an accumulation of stress, a large amount of stress generating this much power for the cat. I think it's also related to Hanekawa's smartness, where she is tactically better and all these other things. And yeah, just it's kind of a melding of the two rather than a possession, if that makes any sense. And using both Hanekawa and the cat's strengths. That's why it's so strong, almost to the level of a vampire. He also says he's distracted by the underwear, which I guess is fair enough. Maybe that talks to why there's so many shots of her at the end of the episode. Anyway, I digress. Here it's revealed Oshinomeme kind of lied about how strong a Meddlesome Cat normally is to try to throw Araragi off even more, of not helping. Because it was even weaker than he described, but of course this one has all the stuff I explained before, and that's why it's really strong. Again, Araragi's just going to get involved. We know this. Well, Shinobu as well, of course. I like this shot of Hanekawa here. Very very traditional Japanese art. Kind of got that big chin. Kind of got a bit of Quagmire going on. But yeah, I like this art style used here and for the flashback story sequence, I guess we'd call it, that we see a little bit later. I think it's an interesting artistic touch. Gives the world kind of some lived-in lore qualities, if that makes any sense, which is really nice. Like this is what I mean. The stuff down here, the bottom of the frame, the stuff like ready like
here, that's really awesome. The stuff on the rest of the frame, I don't really care for. I don't know why it's here. I don't know. Then Oshinomeme kind of switches the argument a little bit. He's kind of like, hey, if I'm having such a difficult time, you could say that this is good. This means that the class rep's full personality is still inside there somewhere. It isn't a lost cause, and she is gettable, if that makes any sense. Savable. She isn't completely gone. And this is demonstrated with quite a clever little sequence where we continually zoom in on this kind of portrait of the meddlesome cat, and we see different scenes of Hanekawa kind of making up the mosaic of that image. You know, visual storytelling, quite nice, pairing the dialogue with what's actually happening on screen. Yeah, pretty well done. I think it's pretty cool. And yep, there's the premise for the rest of kind of this arc. We have to save Hanekawa. If we kill the meddlesome cat completely, then your friend will be gone from this world. She won't be here anymore. We got to separate the two. That's the drama. But then it becomes, hey, is it actually two separate entities or is it just Hanekawa? And that is where we roll into this story. Now, just paraphrasing this story, man finds a dead cat, buries said cat, starts going crazy, like punching different people, acting violent, all these different things. Right here, as we see, right? All things he wouldn't normally do. This isn't like you. It must have been the cat's fault. Who does this sound like? And here's the twist, the true face of the meddlesome cat. After the kind of priest tried to exorcise him, what happened? The kind man was never possessed by a cat in the first place. It was all him. It was all him, baby. There wasn't some third party entity causing him to act this way, causing him to act out. It's what he really felt inside. And yeah, apply that to Hanekawa, and a lot of interesting things start to happen. I think this kind of stuff is a way better way of demonstrating this than the last scene of the episode, where we literally talk through the same concepts again, just in a lot of dialogue. This demonstrated this concept better to me than anything where Hanekawa or the meddlesome cat standing half naked, kind of lecturing at me. I don't know, different strokes for different folks. I didn't really gel with it. Again, can we link all this truly kind human stuff with the kind of humans inherently good, inherently bad stuff? This talks to Oshinomeme's philosophy on it all, right? Where this is kind of the middle of the two extremes, right? Every person has both sides. And that's how it works. No person is inherently one way and trying to be another way, and no person is inherently one way and trying to be another way. And in that way, effort is equally important in both respects. I think that's what he's getting at. That's at least a little bit interesting, I think. Again, Oshinomeme is the true centrist he is. And this silhouetted shot's a bit more interesting. Again, and we fold from this kind of afternoon into another afternoon. Gels a bit better. This kind of color palette almost reminds me of the end of Karen B, which is interesting. So what was Oshinomeme talking about before? There's no truly good humans. You have to see what's underneath as well. Again, they're not truly bad either. And the cat is a perfect example of that. The cat applies this concept specifically extremely well. And is that talking to spontaneity? Is that talking to just doing what you feel? Relying on your base instincts for things? Maybe. Yep, and here's the line. It's possible we'll find out at the end that the class rep was never possessed by a cat to begin with, and this is just who she truly was underneath. And we still haven't figured that out by the end of this arc, or the end of the next Tsubasa arc, or any of the other content in the series so far. So, I don't know. Will we ever get to see who the true Hanekawa is? Maybe. Maybe some point in time. I don't know. I guess the implication here has been that Araragi has been asking the sisters to do this every night and has used this kind of log to replace himself, to let himself leave. The same way he did on the first night where they ended up on the floor. It's pretty interesting, and it only flashes for a second. Good little bit. Catches your eye. All the establishing shots leading up to this scene are actually quite good. I love how quick and snappy they are. Him locking up his bike. And then, yeah, I hope you like this room because we're going to be here for the next 12 minutes. So strap yourself in. So he's really missing Hanekawa at this point, to the point where he licks this desk that has her boobs on it. And then the meddlesome cat's also in the room. So it's like, what are you doing? I know, it's just licking her boob sweat. Weird. Who knows what I might do? My energy drain is a character trait, not a skill. More accurately, it's like a curse. It just happens. So you could be in danger right now, Araragi, or you could not. I don't know. At the end of the day, I'm just doing what I feel. Is that kind of what happened when she just took off his arm in that one scene as well? I was just doing what I felt in the moment. Bit of Hanekawa coming through there a little bit, maybe? I don't know. Here's where Hanekawa reveals that, hey, I knew you were inside the house the whole time. I kind of detected your scent that you had been there. So you saw my master's situation. You understand why I'm acting out this way. You understand the family situation in the house. It ain't great. You even, Araragi himself said it's kind of untenable. So you understand why I am stressed, and these killings are just me acting out on said stress. I'm sure you can understand that by now. And more of this we needed in this scene, right? We needed more cutaways to more interesting locations where the characters can just kind of speak their mind. Other than that, there's a little bit of dynamicism where the characters moving through the scene. I like that the kind of meddlesome cat gets closer and further away to Araragi, who is stationary in the same seat the entire time until he gets up towards the end. But other than that, it's just, it's just general Monogatari shot types in a kind of location that isn't particularly interesting to me. More stuff like this. The mirror showing the cat, extremely interesting. We could talk about that. Just the disembodied uniform in kind of this squeaky clean house, right? Contrast it with Araragi's in lighting, right? There's this huge skylight here, but the light doesn't reach anywhere else. In contrast to the Araragi household, which is always very well lit, almost opulent at times. But yeah, this just looks sad. This looks like a show home. It looks like nobody lives here. Araragi kind of rebuttals here. Well, I understand the stress here, but you didn't have to take it out on random bystanders. And then the cat's like, it's just in my nature. I enjoy causing trouble for random people I don't know. It's fun. Being bad is fun. Could you talk about that the exact opposite of Hanekawa? In being good is not fun. You know what I mean? Being whatever the perception, whatever other people's perception of good is, and being that, it isn't enjoyable. In the same way that acting out to your own kind of, and do we want to talk about a little bit of Freudian stuff here? The fucking ego and the id. Again, I'm not very versed on all of it, but there may be something to that here as well. And the stakes come back here as she kind of gets closer again. I'll need to kill 500 people to get the stress back down to a normal level. Then my work as an aberration will be done, and the favor repaid, and I shall disappear. Araragi rebuttals. He's like, but you didn't solve the root cause of the problem, so no matter what you do, the leak is still there. The stress is still going to build up. It's only a band aid solution. It's not actually fixing the problem. Keep that aloha guy out of my way. I know he's trying to save Master, but leave that job to me. They're both trying to get to the same goal. Again, Oshinomeme, as kind of the great mediator, is trying to just reduce the human impact of it all. It's funny, right? Because they essentially use the same band aid solution in the end of this arc anyway with Shinobu. And of course it comes back, just as they talked about it coming back. And here's another topic of discussion, and I think it's something a little bit new to the whole interpretation of it all. Hanekawa wasn't doing like saving the cat, burying the cat out of kind of respect and love for the cat. She did it because it was the right thing to do. And because it was the right thing to do and Araragi was there, she needed to do it. There's no joy in that. There was no want there. It was a need that she needed to do to keep up this perception, right? And then the cat found that intriguing, and of course it snowballed out from there. Yeah, didn't feel a shred of sympathy for the cat, but still did it. Again, talks to a lot of things in Hanekawa's life, simply doing them because they look good and other people's perception of what good is, instead of doing what she actually wants, which is what the cat is doing right now. Literally acting completely on whim. Again, two sides, premeditation and complete randomness, complete spontaneity. My master simply followed that rule and formula. Is that kind of talking to all these triangles we saw in the opening before? She was solving it like an exam question in real life. She didn't do what she wanted to do, she did it because it was the right answer. It would have gotten full marks in the human assessment quiz. I think this is a little bit more interesting now that I'm thinking about it again. That's a little better. That's something that I didn't realize about Hanekawa initially, or at least didn't really fathom completely. Yeah, that's cool. I like that a bit more. And again, we're interlacing it with these shots of the cats instead of just showing the classroom, which gets a little bit stale. So yes, of course, the cat sees this emotional side of Hanekawa, and that's when, hey, I actually want to help her. Again, is the help really help? It's yet to be seen. If we really wanted to kill you or Oshinomeme, we would have done it already. So my master definitely doesn't want this to happen. That's why you're not dead yet. But please tell him to stay out of our way. And this is really good too. So we see this shot here, then we roll forward a little bit, and there. We see this a couple times. We see Hanekawa's hair and her kind of cat pin that we saw in the previous flashback, kind of the dream sequency part where he's in the house. Flash there. The Hanekawa is still inside there, still dictating some of what the cat does. And because Araragi sees this kind of hair flowing, it prompts him to speak out a little bit more and actually walk up and try to touch the meddlesome cat. And then we get into a little bit of Araragi's own misgivings about his feelings for Hanekawa. I'll fight domestic violence with domestic violence. And Araragi, you can't. Runs over, tries to grab her, but cannot. That's the right answer. You'll be meddled the moment you touch me. That's why I'm the meddle cat. That's right. Staying out of this is the right answer. And I guess upon recollection, this has two meanings, and something I probably didn't pick up during the reaction. The other meaning here is you should stay away from getting closer to actual Hanekawa as well. As opposed to staying out of just this meddlesome cat situation, you can't reach out and actually grab Hanekawa. It's unattainable for you. Your feelings don't reach that far. Something in your subconscious is stopping you from taking the hand from here to here. That's very interesting. I like that. That's some Araragi development stuff. And here's where Araragi just kind of clarifies how much he really loves Hanekawa, but not in the way you think. It's not a love where he wants to be with her forever. It's a love where he would die for her. That's very different. But again, we kind of know this. We've been through this. There's a reason why they're not together, right? It's this concept of the savior. And I'm sure we're going to get into it more in the next episode, so I'm not going to pontificate too much here. Again, upon recollection, last scene's a little bit better. I think there's a little bit more meaning there than I gave it credit for. I just think a lot of it is shots of Hanekawa half naked and explaining things that I kind of already knew. You know what I mean? And again, the greater detail is nice, and it's nice to have some confirmation for things that I already thought were in kind of the works. And there's a few revelations there, but again, I think we could have done more just in this arc overall. It's very low energy. Like we could squeeze this in a little bit more. This could easily be 3 episodes, if not 2, this arc for sure. I would cut huge swaths of certain scenes. And yeah, I think it's dragging a little bit as a result. Either way, we're going to jump into episode 4 of Nekomonogatari Kuro now, and hopefully we're on the up. Rightio, got episode 4 up here ready to go. Let me pop that up on screen. No reason to stand on ceremony, so just going to jump right in. Gonna give it a 3, 2, 1. Rightio? 3, 2, 1, go. Oh yeah, 31 minutes and 4 seconds on the video as well. Praying to Shinobu. Dogizu, or Dogiza, I should say. Yeah, crush his head. Yeah, still not on good terms, are you? Yeah, half an hour this episode, so strap in, I guess. Lucky I started recording early today. I didn't know both these episodes were a little bit longer. Hold up, just gotta respond to this text from work too. Sorry about that. Sometimes they really need urgent help with things, and I don't know. I don't know why I'm the only one that can help. Anyway. Hopefully that sorted it out. I definitely won't look at it during the episode proper, because, you know, here for a reason. Great. She should have crushed his head. Oh, she still is, kind of. Oh, the music. Yes, Shinobu. Yeah? Set the sword back. Is that the one from Thingo? It's kind of like, get out of my sight. Here's a sword, go kill her. But that's not what he wants. It's not what he wants, right? Oh, look at the big sword. Okay. I don't even know what that would have been. What is the interesting story? Oh. How did you learn this? Oh. Yeah, that is bad. Like, again, that guy's scum. He should be dead. Like, I hate that guy. Apologized? Mm. Smile. Yeah, go kill the dad with that big sword. Honestly. No. It's not what should happen. Yeah, but as a human, you need to make your own opinions on these things. Oh, that's putting it lightly. Nah, this is bullshit. I don't know. Don't be mad because she's a better person than you. No. Nah, the other people need to cope. Learn to cope. Yeah. And yeah, it's that thing the commenter was talking about, right? Yeah, cope. No, obviously not. So this isn't the same sword from Kizu. I think it's a different sword. Oh, so it only kills aberrations. Right. Okay. But how much is an aberration? How much is Hanekawa? You know what I mean. What are the warnings? She's really smart. She's planned everything. I like the maybe on screen there. Okay. Okay, I guess that'll be coming back later. Or right now. Okay. Okay, Sword Boy. So we've set up a couple things. We've set up why he knows where the meddlesome cat is, and we've set up the second warning. Hmm. Again, is that talking to a bit more of the test stuff? Was his opinions on Hanekawa's situation? Was that a bit of a test as well? We could talk to that for sure. What, did she come and find you? Yeah. Okay. What's up? Huh. Ooh. Or did he send a message? Ah. Okay, that's really cool. I could see a bit more of the Hanekawa coming through in the way it's speaking too. Yeah, exactly. That's why I felt it, right? Well, yeah, that's the whole story. So this is really interesting, and it recontextualizes the other arc as well. The doubling down on this concept is actually making it way more interesting. I love this. Like when she put on the facade for the gauze as well, it was the same thing. Okay, what is your response? Not sustainable. How can we contextualize this within the whole effort conversation we had with Araragi previous? This whole perception thing? Hmm. Well, that's not the truth. I hate that. Just say what you mean. Like, I don't. Like, I get it, right? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. That's the kind of stuff I hate. They're just all this double meaning, like, bullshit. And the cat's back. Linking into the scene from last episode. It's very hard to kill Araragi. We've tried a number of times. Oh, it's similar to the Kambaru fight scene. That's fun. What is happening? Ah. Okay, that's really clever. Kind of how Shinobu pulled it out of her mouth as well. So the whole thing, right? And I got it right. It was to goad her into attacking, and it worked. Actually, get the cat to come out and then attack him, and yeah, yeah. But how much is again? It's the mix between the two, right? Why is it hurting her right now? She doesn't know everything. She just knows what she knows. Exactly. Oh, okay. Yeah, but it wasn't the metal cat talking, it was Hanekawa talking. Or was it both? Hello, Shinobu. She's also talking again, which is fun. Yes. Hello. Hello, Shinobu. Does this talk to the intrinsic connection between the two again? Probably. And yeah, here's the energy drain. So you kind of ruined it, I guess, Shinobu, as well. If you left it to Araragi, maybe we'd get a more concrete solution. Maybe. Okay. I didn't really like that either. But anyway. This song's really cool, though. Sounds like some Radiohead or something. Cat's still there. Oh, and then it's this shot again. That's cool. Oh, okay. So that's the helmet thing. Oh, that's fun. So, you, like, correct me if I'm wrong. Shinobu kind of ruined everything. Kind of. Again, that talks to her relationship with Araragi. It doesn't allow Araragi to die like that, right? Because it wasn't quite a meddlesome cat, because it was, yeah. Okay. And that's why we see it later. Interesting. I couldn't even die for Hanekawa's sake. Come on. Exactly. Is that kind of justifying the title of the arc, I guess? I mean, that would solve the other problem later on. Yeah, and would solve that one too. Like they do again later, yeah. This music is really beautiful too. Hmm. Yeah. That's how humans work. Yeah. Great. And we're back to school, I guess? Oh, and that's where the it plays that in Tsubasa Cat. That's fun. That's nice. That's really nice. Who's at the top of those stairs? Don't slip on a banana. Watch out for the bananas. Oh, unique ED? Kind of. Interesting. I think the last kind of 5 to 10 minutes there did a lot to redeem the episode, in my opinion. But a lot of it, again, it just seems like overcomplication. I said it again. Oh my god, overcomplication. That's not a word. Complication of something I already knew. Like this was established, and then we're introducing far more concepts than I think is needed. And I might just be dumb, It's probably actually pretty likely that I'm dumb, but I just don't really see the need for all of it. I guess it kind of links a lot of the stuff we've seen so far in all the arcs, like the Araragi stuff, as well as all the Hanekawa stuff, together in a bit more of a satisfying way. But again, like, I just don't see the need. At least this episode was better directed, I thought. Kind of that, at least that confrontation and kind of the reveal there that Hanekawa had been kind of in control the whole time is a little bit more of a, bit of a gut punch, recontextualizes a lot of stuff from Tsubasa Cat. And now they're this kind of entity, Black Hanekawa, right? And I guess we see where we go with Hanekawa in the future. But I don't really know. I don't really know where we're going. I don't know. I don't know how much I even want to analyze any of this, you know what I mean? Might be a very short analysis segment. Oh, is this touching boobs? Okay, that's fun. Oh, next time Tsubasa Tiger? Hey yo, we're back. Thanks for spoiling, by the way. Rightio, as I said just then, I don't know how much analysis I'll do on this because I'm not sure how much more I can really grasp that I haven't already said. Again, it's a combination of a lot of the Araragi kind of development stuff that we saw through Kizu into Bake a little bit. I guess it's the bridging point from Araragi in Kizu at the end of Kizu through to who he is at the start of Bake, and I think that makes a lot of sense. She taught him feelings in a lot of ways, right? And it's a combination of a lot of these themes with Hanekawa's stuff. All of her contradictions, all of her perception-based stuff, you know? Anyway, I guess I'll get the episode up. I might do like 10 minutes or something. We'll see. Because I guess at this point, it's almost refusal to engage with much more of the story material because I think it's just getting a little bit too heady and a bit too broad. And once you understand what characters are doing in scenes, yeah, it makes sense. But I don't know. Why do we have to talk in riddles? And then we're taking these riddles and we're putting them through translation to try to make it understand to me, dumb Western person. And I think a lot of it's getting lost in translation as well. It's maybe a little more poignant than it is in the translation itself. I don't know. A lot of it's going over my head, and it's just not really that compelling to me. Again, last 10 minutes with the music, especially the music. The music's excellent throughout the entire episode. That really did a lot to redeem it, for sure. I like what they're kind of talking about and how it sets us up going forward. But still, Black Hanekawa's there. Shinobu kind of saves the day. There's a little more context around Araragi and Hanekawa's feelings for each other. This whole, like, I hate you, I love you thing, it's just a little bit much. Like, I don't know. I just wish somebody would come to me and, like, sit me down and go, hey, this is what's going on, and this is why it's cool and important. It's too much. It's too much. And yeah, the proliferation of dialogue here is insane. Either way, we'll try to go through the events of the episode at least, just so I understand what happens and when and why. Like here, in this scene we have on screen right now, we see Araragi doing the Dogiza to try to, convince Shinobu to give him the sword that he knew about, apparently, that separates aberrations from other things. Now, again, if we have something like this, why aren't we using it all the time? Again, maybe there's a justification there, but seems like a weird thing to bring up, no? Like, we could have used that on Kambaru. That would have made things a lot easier. I guess that's his thing. He never wants to use it. He wants to get to the root of the actual problem without actually separating the two. Because, again, are aberrations real? Are they even actually things that are really happening in the world? Or is it all up to interpretation and perspective? And then severing this part of somebody, is that inherently dangerous? I don't know. Didn't seem to work on Hanekawa. The aberration just kind of fought back. It didn't work, right? And kind of Shinobu had to step in. I don't know. Either way, we're going to pause when I find interesting stuff to talk about, I guess. So, yep, Shinobu eventually folds and gives sword to Araragi. Oshinomeme enters the scene and kind of talks with Araragi about his little meeting with Hanekawa's parents now that they'd regained consciousness. And they explained this scene, And this causes like a really strong response out of Oshinomeme. I think that's actually quite interesting, right? where he inherently blames Hanekawa and her facades for all this that's happening to her. And again, this is trying to trying to goad Araragi in a way, right? Trying to spring him into action. Again, it's Araragi's story. He needs to be the one to complete the thing. If Oshino Meme was doing it in the cleanest way possible, he would have just dealt with it. He would have just used said sword immediately, right? But of course, we have all characters involved holding back and hurting each other slightly in the process. Either way, I should explain what's happening in the scene on screen. That is, Hanekawa being hit, thrust against the wall by her father, and then, saying, now, father, you shouldn't hit a girl in the face. Like, still putting on this facade, not getting angry, not getting upset, not crying out, still kind of smiling. And he's right, that is kind of like creepy and scary, right? That's not how a normal human would respond to this. She's trying to be all things to everyone. That never works. This looks like a like a new metal music video, which is kind of sick. I like how all the stars in the sky, they kind of light up the tree as well. We can link that a little bit to the talk of Araragi as a star later on in Hanekawa's whole spiel. There's this visual as well, Hanekawa, in the sky as an angel. She puts herself on this pedestal, doesn't allow herself to be the normal person. The only problem with Hanekawa is herself. And again, I'm pretty sure it's like the scene later. We have to think about what characters want from scenes and not just taking literal subbing on its face value. So, Oshino wants to thrust Araragi into action one more time and get him to formulate the correct plan, knowing all the things possible and heeding all said warnings, right? So he is saying these things that may outwardly seem really harsh to get a response out of Araragi and to get him to be thrust into action. So yeah, I was vehemently disagreeing with Oshino Meme through all of this scene, right? Gifted humans must be aware of the effect that gift has on humans around them. It's your fault that you're special and acting out in a certain way that people take that the wrong way and then lash out at you. It's victim blaming. It sucks. Don't do that, Oshino Meme. But of course, he's not trying to do that. It's like later on where Araragi says that he hates Hanekawa. That's to get a response out of the kind of Hanekawa slash meddlesome cat to attack Araragi, where he has hidden the sword deep inside himself. That's his little trick there. He wants to die in the process there, so he needs Hanekawa to attack him, kind of cleansing Hanekawa of the aberration, as well as killing himself in the process, because he wants to die for Hanekawa. Again, just a little thought about character motivation, and a lot of these things that were question marks in the process make a little bit more sense. I just wish it was a little bit more legible. You've really got to sit and think with this show, or this arc in particular, more than the other arcs, and I think that that's to its detriment. This here is like, don't talk about my waifu that way. I've got my anime sword. But it's also the same concept we were talking about in the comments before. Araragi kind of brushing off his real feelings in a way by talking about his sexual feelings, right? It's like, I don't love Hanekawa. I don't care about her. I only want her for the body. I only, want to have sex with her. And that's why I'm mad at you, Oshino Meme. That's why I look the maddest I've ever looked in any episode ever. It was just because of sex. That's all I am. No, that's not. You're coping. That's not how it works at all. And again, we as the audience read through the lines there, of course. Then they talk through their plan a little bit. Oshino Meme goes through his 3 different things. The second of said things is a setup for later, and that thing is that, hey, you can't kill it outright. Hanekawa's in there. I'm sure that Araragi knows that Hanekawa's in there. And hey, we're all on the same page here. You can't kill her outright. The other one is how you're going to locate Hanekawa. And that's an interesting question as well. And I really like the kind of justification here, right? Araragi sends a fake message to Hanekawa saying, hey, I've been attacked by a vampire, please help. Hanekawa comes running. We know that this is in Hanekawa's nature, and it speaks to what Araragi already knows, is that Hanekawa is mostly in control of what she's doing, and she's putting on a voice most of the time. That's actually pretty fun. As we see here, there's this counter counting the minutes before Hanekawa actually arrives at the scene. And then, yep, we see the eyes change, of course. Araragi-kun, are you alright? And then as soon as she sees that that isn't the case, she realizes that the ruse is up. And yeah, she needs to reveal some things. I guess the lust comment being the only thing that he cares about the meddlesome cat slash Hanekawa with thing could be linked into some of the shot selection in the last scene of the last episode where they're in the classroom. Like that's where his eyes are drifting instead of focusing on the really important stuff that's actually being said. But again, I just find it incongruous and kind of weird. I think we can find a better way to do that. I think a lot of the character design stuff here is quite good. They get a good mix between the kind of Hanekawa eyes and the cat eyes, as well as the kind of different subtle color changes and that kind of thing between the black and the white. Pretty good. There's also the reveal here that, hey, I noticed you're not speaking with the nyas. That means that you're not, yeah, it was a whole act the whole time. And yet, when she realizes that he sees through this, she tries to cover up as well. I think that's pretty good. Because hey, I can't be. I'm not putting on an act anymore. He sees through the act. He knows it's just me. I need to act like Hanekawa would act in similar situations. Again, pretty clever. This is when we get into the stuff that's just like a bit over my head. It's just all these concepts again, like just so much different stuff to consider. It's just overwhelming. I think it's too much. I really do. And as I keep saying, complication not being a word, overcomplication of something that I already thought was established and you know, it isn't additive in a way that it's hugely changing my perspective. There's one thing that does that, and that's this whole Hanekawa always being in control idea. I think that's really interesting. But the rest of it is just like I don't find joy in searching for the meaning there, right? I think my base understanding of the meaning is already enjoyable enough. I don't know. Maybe I'm talking shit, but didn't really like it. And that's okay. Because I like a lot of other stuff about the show. This is where Araragi kind of kills her with facts and logic. Like, you may not like this right now, but that's who you are, Hanekawa. You're going to live like that for the rest of your life. Kind of reintroducing what Oshino was talking about before. All the problems with you are you, right? You need to own that a little bit more. It's not your unfortunate situation or anything else, you know. You need to take control of that, and if you don't, you're just going to be the same person for the rest of your life. Again, this is used to go to response out of the cat as well. So, again, how much is Araragi a reliable narrator here? I don't know. Don't be silly, Araragi. This is difficult for me. There are things that I can and can't do too. Of course, we know that. That's your catchphrase. I only know what I know. He, even at this point, he calls her not even a human anymore. And again, that could talk to the aberration, but it could also talk to her actions, such as her actions after when the father hit her, right? That's not a very human reaction, is it? They talked about robotic before. It's almost like that, right? Yeah. Again, Araragi's saying mean things to go to response. I don't know how much we should read into it. But then there's weird turns in the conversation too. Here he says, because we're friends, and then the tree lights up, and it's like, oh yeah, he's talking his actual feelings. And then it turns again, it's like, I hate you. It's like, why? Just say what you mean. It's very confusing. I don't know. And again, once you've probably seen the show like 3 or 4 times and rewatched it and really talked about it with other people and all these other things, I'm sure it makes sense. I'm sure it's legible. Everything else in the show so far has been legible. I talk back to, what's the name of the arc? Nadeko Snake. I always talk back to it. That arc is one of my favorite in the series now, and how it contextualizes certain things about Araragi and his perception of like these aberration cases, and what we should take going forward, and how we can switch that, and then we move that into Kizu, and it becomes very interesting as we think about Nadeko Snake into Kizu. I find that rewarding. And the same thing could happen here. We could go into this next, it looks like the next arc's a Hanekawa arc, and all this could be recontextualized, and I could really appreciate this. But as for right now, I'm just really confused. I don't know. I feel dumb, and I don't like feeling dumb when I'm watching things. And I shouldn't feel dumb because if I was watching this in a seasonal format and had to watch these episodes week to week, there's no way I would be retaining any of this information. But I digress. The tree's pretty pretty as well. I think this part's quite well done with all the dyes and the kind of different Hanekawas saying it and all the different colors, the screen shattering and it moving forward like that. I think that's really well done. And then, yeah, we see the cat start to take a little bit more control here. And this is when Araragi's like, yep, my plan worked. That's good. I'm going to die for Hanekawa by saying mean things to goad the cat to attack me, to get the sword to cut the cat, and yeah. Again, it's because that this knowledge is unbeknownst to Hanekawa, who is in control of it all, that she can't act on it. She doesn't know everything, she just knows what she knows. So you don't mind if I kill you, talking to the cat being back in control, right?
And then, yeah, here we go. Like, cut Araragi, his corpse is flying against the wall. He's on his last legs. He's bleeding out. As we learned in episode 2, there is limits to Araragi's immortality, especially as it pertains to energy draining and blood. So you learn something new every day. We didn't think that. I thought he was like super immortal, but anyway. And yeah, the sword, as you can see there, is sticking out of him and has cut Hanekawa in twine. Or both sides of her in twine, huh? We're really trying to separate one side of Hanekawa from the other, but they will not budge. To the point where it's hurting Hanekawa like a lot. And then we're talking a little bit here to Araragi's feelings on the whole thing. Again, his whole self-worth thing. Hanekawa as a savior. And yeah, his love for her in the way that he wants to die for her instead of living with her. And then we can link that into what Oshino Meme was saying at the end towards the whole marrying thing. Also, like the color change here, it's similar to Kambaru's arc where they're fighting in the dark room and we switch the color palette. You know, bit of photo negative stuff. Again, cats can see in the dark, vampires can see in the dark. It makes sense. I like this look on Oshino Meme's face as well. Like, he knows what's happening at the moment. And he's just kind of mulling it over. It's pretty good. Like, he knows that Araragi's trying to sacrifice himself, right? Interesting. Like, here it's going through all the different terms that Hanekawa is, and we end on savior. Like, classmate, class president, savior. Here he's pleading to the meddlesome cat, right? He's relating to the meddlesome cat a lot, right? When Hanekawa saw me in my vampire form, she never pitied me or had sympathy for me at any point. She just saw me eye to eye. She saw me as a real person. We think back to Kizu, that's exactly what happened. Was the cat the same way? Because it's the flip side of the zero sympathy argument that the cat had during the scene in the classroom. That was maybe also Hanekawa. That's really interesting. Where it's like, well, even if she had no sympathy, that's good. She isn't looking down on me. She's treating me as an equal. She treats all things equal, almost robotically. That has its benefits too. I like how it's kind of treating both sides there. It's kind of fun. And then, yeah, Shinobu shows up, and as I said in the reaction, kind of ruins everything. Like, Shinobu bleeds on Araragi and stops him from sacrificing himself. We can link this back into the whole Kizumonogatari promise, right? Where Shinobu wants Araragi to live and will not take him dying under any circumstance, where the exact opposite is true for kind of Araragi thinking about Shinobu, where he's happy to die as long as Shinobu lives. Again, it's the dichotomy. They can't both die, or they can either both die or both live. One can't live without the other, you know? And this is Shinobu enforcing that with all of her kind of power. So this is where the solution comes from. This is another one of the reveals that we didn't see in the flashback per se. It's that Araragi didn't order Shinobu to drain the meddlesome cat, essentially, right? He wanted to die in the process, helping Hanekawa, but Shinobu doesn't allow that. It's a little bit more of a recontextualization there. That's pretty interesting. And again, then we compare this directly to Tsubasa Cat, where Araragi does call out for Shinobu, and it's important that he remembers Shinobu's existence, especially in the context of the rest of Bakemonogatari, where he's kind of leaving Shinobu to the wayside. That's fairly interesting. I like this as a solution. This is different. I like how she's talking here as well. I think that's pretty fun, because she doesn't talk again for basically the rest of Bake, so, you know, she does know how to talk, and purposely not talking with him, that's fun. Think about the first episode in Bakemonogatari. It's just like, oh yeah, she's just not talking. She's silent. She's a ruined vampire. You just know nothing at that point, but there's so much history there. That's cool. And then I don't know about this. Kind of Araragi's going through and he's like, is this okay, Hanekawa? Is this what we want? Is this blah, 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 living the way we're living right now? Kind of talking about this connection between the two, that they're kind of similar in a way. And then Hanekawa's like, of course it's not. And then at that point, I think she loses a lot of memories of this kind of encounter. Or maybe it's blurry, or maybe she's lying, or again, up for interpretation. We'll never be rewarded, we'll never be able to make it right. That's interesting, right? These noble intentions that they're, never going to be rewarded for, but still do it. Of course it isn't okay, says Hanekawa. I think the music here is excellent. I said it sounded a little bit like Radiohead, and I think that's cool. Again, we're back on our kind of street sign bullshit. And yeah, we enter our kind of epilogue. We talk about this fusing of Hanekawa and the meddlesome cat into a new oddity called Black Hanekawa. It doesn't act like the meddlesome cat. It's more, again, symbiotic than that. It's interesting that there's also this other symbiotic side of Araragi that interferes in all of this as well in Shinobu. That's fun. So yeah, will the two ever be separated? I'm guessing what happens here is that we go into this next Hanekawa arc, which is implied to be the next arc, I think, where this will be current day, and then we'll get a little more context there, and we'll get a little more context into this relationship too. I think that'll be rewarding. I said just marry the class rep. Of course, Araragi isn't going to do this, and he talks about why. But I really like this ending portion. I think the music is spectacular, one of the best pieces in the entire show, and very calm after kind of the tenseness and quickness of the dialogue that we saw during most of this arc, really. Again, we're talking about the happiest way to end this, similar to Kizu, right? Where it wasn't the happy ending, it was the kind of most equal ending. It was the worst ending for everybody possible, where instead this time we're going for a really happy ending, or a happy ending in Araragi's view. The kind of conceit here is really sweet. Hanekawa taught me feelings, right? Whoever I end up with in the future, it's heavily implied to be Senjukahara, I'll be able to love her because of the kind of feelings that you had for me. If that makes any sense, right? The kind of help that you had for me into making me a human, dragging me from the monster side, is going to be, it's going to bear fruit one day, right? I think that's really sweet. The relationships we have in the past build the relationships in the future. And I really agree with that. Just this whole setup, walking into the classroom again. We see a little bit of Senjukahara again too, which is nice. And yeah, just in general, and really nice bow on the arc, even if I didn't enjoy some parts of it. Araragi Koyomi fell out of love for the first time, even though he wasn't in love. It's all just him realizing his own feelings. That's kind of what the arc is. And I like how we're looking at the staircase here. She's going to slip on a banana peel, and Araragi's going to catch her. She's really light, and that's where we jump into Bake. That's fun. And then, jump into this little unique ED right here at the end. Real nice palette cleanser, as we see, again, we got a, kind of chalkboard, black Hanekawa, white chalk. Again, talking to that whole dichotomy again. So I stand by my feelings on a lot of the content in it, where it's just, I think, confusing and heady for the sake of doing so without having enough plot movement to help it move along at a good pace. I think a lot of the scenes are just kind of characters talking to each other, and again, there isn't as much plot reveal stuff, where I think it just gets a little bit caught in the weeds. Upon recollection that, again, both episodes were better upon an initial kind of skim rewatch. So I can imagine that the people that really like this arc see it as a larger piece of the overall narrative, really helpful there, and have probably consumed the whole narrative already. I'm guessing that this one will probably improve in retrospect as well, much like Nadeko Snake has. Again, this is my opinion at the moment. It is subject to change, and I think we should reinforce that. That being said, I was ready for a break from Hanekawa, but it seems like we're still going on that train. Hopefully it's in current day so we can get some input from some other characters. Again, I don't think I've seen Nadeko for like a few months now. I haven't seen Senjukahara for ages. I haven't seen Kambaru in ages. I don't know. I just want to get back to these people a little bit more. The sisters, take it or leave it. I've seen them very recently. Back to current day will probably do a lot as well. I don't know. That's my thoughts on it. Don't need to agree or disagree. I'm guessing a lot of you probably do disagree. Then again, I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. This is my actual thoughts as they happen. And I think that's important too. Anyway, thank you very much for watching this week. Just do my shill stuff quickly before I leave. If you like the video, consider liking the video. If you like the video and want to see more, consider subscribing to the channel. Comment below anything you thought about the episode, anything I could do to improve my presentation, comment below. I'm doing follow for follow on Twitter, so follow me on Twitter if you would like me to follow you back. And the Discord, join the Discord, schedules on Discord if you wanted to know that. And you can teach me why this arc's really good too if you want to as well. I'm very willing to listen to all your opinions, as I'm sure there'll be lots of comments this week. Either way, thank you very much for watching this week, and try to catch you again in the future. Ready? Catch you again later. Bye.